Okay, guys, it's Kenny again from the gun room, and what I've got today to show you is a quick review and a well considered an heirloom piece to me. My grandpa didn't use it in Vietnam, but he carried one similar to it. Got it from his cousin, so I've personally seen it in my family for 30 years. It's been in there a little bit longer, but it's been something that I always look for getting a hold of and off my grandfather. And we're going to do a quick review of the Remington Rand 1911. Okay, hammer's back. It's clear gun. This is a World War II Remington Rand. I actually looked up the serial numbers on it, and it was manufactured December 5th, 1945. It's been a great piece for me, just because it was my grandfather's, but overall, it's it's a pretty killer piece. You don't see too many of them. The old blocked in sights. It's fixed front made into the actual upper slide, and you can hear it. It's loose. Pretty much anything that you would need in a GI issue 1911. Stamped United States serial number. This one in particular, it still has a serial number, but it was ground off here for whatever reason, and it's been like that ever since I can remember. So what should be here is USM 1911 A1, and don't know why that's gone, but serial number still on it. Maker's marks here, FJA. But it's been a great piece, and it's been a great shooter. This thing will fire absolutely anything. Steel case, aluminum case, brass case, full metal jacket, hollow point, whatever you can feed in this thing, it'll fire and it won't jam. Not the most accurate, but as far as a 1911 World War II issue, it's anything anybody could ask for. It's been around the world, I would say, just because the use and patina on it. My grandpa got it, before I was born, but there's a story behind it, how I had to acquire it. Okay, so my grandpa got it, and then, a couple years ago, I asked him, "Hey, Pop, can I go shoot the 1911?" He said, "Buddy, I've screwed up." And, so at that point, I was like, "What happened? Blah, blah, blah." He's like, "Well, I sold it." I was like, "Why?" And, long story short, I had to get it back, just because, it's a gun that I've always wanted, because he had it. And, it's a cool piece. So I found out he sold it to a guy, got in contact with him, then found out he sold it to a private collector. And then at that point, I did not, I wasn't able to get that information from him because, some private collectors are just like that. They don't like people knowing, that they have a bunch of stuff, which I completely understand. So I was able to communicate with him using the guy that my grandpa sold it. And I just explained to him, I said, "Man, I'd love to have it back. It was my grandfather's gun." And, at that point, it meant a lot to me, and it still does. Not that it doesn't mean any less to me now. But I talked to him and I told him, "Hey, man, the guy bought it from you legitimately. But it was my grandfather's gun, and I would love to have it back." So week goes by, the guy calls me and he says, "Hey, the guy understands, it was your grandpa's gun. And, he would kind of expect the same out of somebody if, somebody had his grandfather's gun, that he would, love the chance to be able to give it back." So he was actually very nice to me. And I never met the guy, still to this day, don't know his name. But I was actually able to get this gun back for $400 cheaper than what my grandpa originally sold it to the first guy for. So just because he understood, and that's, he asked me what I had to spend. So I still paid a pretty red cent for it, but overall, I was ecstatic to be able to get it back. It just means a lot to me, and this was one of my most treasured pieces. World War II Remington Rand, Syracuse, New York, USA. I've thought about actually having this fixed at some point, just because the gun's a valuable gun, of course, just its heritage, but to me it's a priceless piece. I would never get rid of it, and hopefully I can pass it down to when I have kids. But that's one reason. I found a place in New York that redoes guns. They'll do it to full on factory spec from era. No matter what gun it is, whether it's Colt, the Singer, Ithaca's, the Remington Rands, and I've looked into that, and it's kind of pricey, but to me, that's something that's considerable, just because I don't ever plan on selling it. It may hurt the value, but to me, the value doesn't exist because that it's just what I wanted. But if you guys got any pieces that mean a lot to you, I'd love to hear it. See what you got, and leave it in the comments. If you don't care, hit the like button, subscribe, whatever you want to do. If you don't, that's awesome. But I appreciate you. Thanks for watching my video. You guys have a good night.